everyone. I hope you're doing well. The purpose of these videos is to help you finish the trimester that we left on hold because of coronavirus, and hopefully we can catch up and make up for a little bit of the time that we have lost. Okay, so let's start. Have you ever wished that something in your life were different? I don't know, maybe right now you have so many assignments from your teachers because you're not going to school that you have no time left for yourself. Or maybe your parents are always home, so now you maybe need a little bit of space. In English, we use the present unreal conditional to talk about these things that we wish were different, but we maybe not be able to change in real life. That's why the situation is present, as in present unreal conditional, but it's only in our imaginations that those changes happen. That's why it's called unreal conditional. Now, the last part, conditional, means that in order for that to happen, we need something else. We need a condition, right? So let's look at the structure I have here. So we have if plus a subject and a verb in the past, followed by a comma, and then another subject, and then we have two options: could or would be able to, and our verb. So let's look at the example. If I didn't have so many snacks at home, I would be able to stay fit. That's true for me. I bought too many snacks and now I'm eating too much food. So I wish I didn't have those, right? Okay, now we have a little star here. I wrote a star. Why? Because when we use the verb be, it's a special case. I think we've already seen this in past lessons that when we use the verb be in the past, instead of using was, we only use were. So let's look at the example. If you weren't home, I could listen to music as loud as I want to. Okay, now please grab your books, page 90. And we're going to look at two situations happening in this page. The first one, we have two ladies and they are talking and there are some children in the background, and she's thinking, my TV is fixed, and a sad face. Why is she sad? Why isn't she happy that her TV is not broken anymore? Let's look at this. You know, I wish my TV weren't fixed. Why do you say that? If it weren't fixed, I could talk with my children, or I'd be able to talk with my children. Okay, now let's look at the second situation and observe the picture. We have a man and a woman and they are in a shoe store, right? And the man, he's worried about something. He's worried, he says, my son wants to be a dentist, but being a dentist is not something bad. So let's see why he doesn't want his son to be a dentist. You know, I wish my son didn't want to be a dentist. Why do you say that? If he didn't want to be a dentist, I could convince him to manage my shoe store when I retire. Or I'd be able to convince him to manage my store when I retire. So the situation is that he's worried that no one will take care of his shoe store once he retires, right? Okay, now let's look at the different situations in page 91. Let's look at the first one. We have a woman and a man, and it seems like the weather is sunny, and she says, she's thinking, the weather is going to be nice this weekend, and she's sad about it. So it would go something like this. I wish the weather weren't going to be nice this weekend. Why do you say that? If the weather weren't going to be nice this weekend, I would be able to wear my new raincoat this Saturday. Or I could wear my new raincoat this Saturday. Now let's look at the second situation. We have a mom and his son, and the son is thinking, I have a doctor's appointment this Saturday, and a sad face. He's probably scared, maybe, right? So let's look. I wish I didn't have a doctor's appointment this Saturday. Why do you say that? If I didn't have a doctor's appointment this Saturday, I would be able to go to the beach. Or I could go to the beach. Now, you can do the same thing with the next pictures, following the same pattern that I modeled for you. And remember, when we use the verb be, we always use were for the past. Okay, now I'm going to go over each of the situations so you can check your answers. Number 3. I wish I didn't live in a high-rise building. Why do you say that? If I didn't live in a high-rise building, I could have a garden, or I would be able to have a garden. Number 4. I wish my daughter weren't going to a college out of town. Why do you say that? If my daughter weren't going to a college out of town, I would be able to see her more often, or I could see her more often. I wish my new office didn't have a view of the park. Why do you say that? If my new office didn't have a view of the park, I would be able to concentrate more on my work, or I could concentrate more on my work. Number 6. I wish there weren't a company picnic this Sunday. Why do you say that? If there weren't a company picnic this Sunday, I would be able to go away for the weekend, or I could go away for the weekend. Number 7. I wish I didn't have to go to my nephew's piano recital tomorrow. Why do you say that? If I didn't have to go to my nephew's piano recital tomorrow, I would be able to invite my friends over to watch the Super Bowl. Or I could invite my friends over to watch the Super Bowl. And number 7. I wish my son didn't take drum lessons. Why do you say that? If my son didn't take drum lessons, I would be able to have some peace and quiet around the house. Or I could have some peace and quiet around the house. Okay, now we're going to go over the reading in page 92. So in these readings, we're going to learn about 2 different families and how they want their lives to be different. So let's look at the first reading. They wish they lived in the city. The Anderson family lives in the suburbs, but they wish they lived in the city. If they lived in the city, Mr. Anderson wouldn't have to spend all his spare time mowing the lawn and working around the house. Mrs. Anderson wouldn't have to spend 2 hours commuting to work every day. Their son Michael would be able to take the bus to the baseball stadium. Their daughter Jennifer would be living close to all of her favorite bookstores. And their other son Stephen could visit the zoo more often. It would be very difficult for the Anderson family to move to the city now, but perhaps someday they'll be able to. They certainly hope so. Okay, now I'm going to do the second reading. We're going to read about a different family and what they wish their life was like. And you're going to fill in the blanks. I'm going to leave a little bit of time for you to say the answer, okay? The Burton family lives in the city, but they lived in the suburbs. If they, in the suburbs, Mrs. Burton, be able to plant a garden and grow vegetables. Mr. Burton have to listen to noisy city traffic all the time. Their son Ken have a backyard to play in. Their daughters Betsy and Kathy have to share a room. And their cat Tiger be able to go outside and play with the other cats. It be very difficult for the Burton family to move to the suburbs now, but perhaps someday they certainly hope so. Okay, now I'm going to read it again and you can check your answers. The Burton family lives in the city, but they wish they lived in the suburbs. If they lived in the suburbs, Mrs. Burton would be able to plant a garden and grow vegetables. Mr. Burton wouldn't have to listen to noisy city traffic all the time. Their son Ken would have a backyard to play in. Their daughters Betsy and Kathy wouldn't have to share a room. And their cat Tiger would be able to go outside and play with other cats. It would be very difficult for the Burton family to move to the suburbs now, but perhaps someday they'll be able to. They certainly hope so. Okay, we have some questions that maybe you can answer on your own. Do you wish you lived someplace else? Where and why? Compare life in the city and life in the suburbs. What are the advantages and disadvantages of each? Well, this was our lesson for today. I hope you had a good time and I'll see you the next time. Bye.